So let's give a little context here since we're just joining us. So I've got my finished lorem HTML here. Fills the page. It's got this box here, and I've got my lorem style sheet that I made one little change to. I want to delete that. So this is right out of the box. This is correct. And if I go over to my Google page or my Chrome page, and this is how it looks on Chrome, and it scales, and that's it. And you can see it's not great design here on my part. It's not great work on my part because it doesn't really scale. But so what I'm going to do is we're going to make this for mobile. And first thing I'm going to do is zoom in here so you guys can see it. And I'm down here in my style sheet, and I'm going to add the @mobile sign. So this is where it gets a little weird. When you have the @mobile sign like this, you're nesting styles within these curly braces. So for example, and I need to go back to my code here and figure out what's what. So actually, if I go back to my source code and say, all right, so here's my class body, and where's my headline? So here's my H1. Just for fun, I'm going to call this, I'm going to give it a ID of headline. I just like to, I don't necessarily like to define tags because you're going to use tags all over the place. For this one-off, I used the H1 tag and I gave that a style. It's a bad practice. You want to give everything an ID or a class. Generally, I mean, it's very rare that you're not going to want to, you skip that. Okay, so let's go back to our style sheet, and I'm willing to bet that there's probably an H1 in here somewhere with some style. There it is. So actually, I'm going to just change that to dot. What did I say? Oh, it was an ID anyways. Hashtag headline. Okay, so nothing's changed. I'm just cleaning things up a little bit to have a little fun. So let's start with that image. Where is that image? Let's go back and we're going to look at our source code. I'm going to click on this image, and there is Google user content. And is there an ID or a class with it? No, it's just one single image. And again, oh yes, oh no, I didn't. So just again for fun, I'm going to say ID equals, what are we going to call this? Lorem image. Okay. And all I'm doing is just giving myself things to talk to, right? I just have this ID that I threw in here to say, okay, I can target that now with a style. Even though it looks like I already did, but I probably, again, if I were a betting man, I would go back to my style sheet, and I bet there's an image CSS in here right there, and I'm going to just replace that with my lorem image. So again, cleaned it up, cool. Nothing's really changed here. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to @mobile, and this is where Google is your friend. Google's your friend all the time. But I'm going to Google CSS @mobile. How to use CSS mobile media queries to create a mobile version of your website. Awesome. So Smash Magazine. But I'm actually going to go, let's see here, HTML goodies. So we're not getting a hit on W3 Schools. Let's try the first link and see what we get. I just want an example. So here we go. So here are some of the parameters that I can hand to that @mobile sign. So height, width, max, or device width and height, orientation, resolution. Some examples. Let's see here. I'm going to zoom out. Here we go.
So it's supposed to be @media.
Did I write @mobile? God, I am fried. I'm sorry. Wow, I just totally screwed up a whole video. Maybe we can save it. Okay, ignore what I said. Media. And what is me? And so you notice it lit up green, and it's not a mistake anymore. So what are this? I mentioned this last class. See who was paying attention. what other media is media. So I did at media for, we're doing mobile is mobile device, which is a screen. And at media is a screen, is all it is, let me rephrase this. When I say at media, it's how the code is going to be played out. Again, it can be played out on a screen. What are some other ways that we can play this out? On a TV, on
Projector?
projector is a display device. TV is like actually I'm thinking like old school web TV. You guys probably don't remember web TV. The other place to play it out is in print. So I can say if I go to print this, that's an at media. Okay, so and we can look up, we can do a quick search and see what other types of media count. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to say screen, and we'll go back to our Google here. Media only, screen, and then it says, oh, and by the way, the max device width is 480 pixels when it's at media screen. So I'm setting all of these parameters. I'm kind of setting some rules about the CSS is what I'm writing here. Okay, and I always have to go out and steal it, but so it's at media, only, screen, so it's playing out on screen, max device width 480 pixels. So the device width, I'll put my phone down, is this is the device. This is a device too. That's a device, right? So it's whatever device that has a screen that's playing this out. So I'm just sending the rules and say, look, when you've got a screen and you're playing it out at nothing, when it's smaller than 480 pixels, then do this. And what do we want to do? Let's just do something weird and easy. Let's take this headline and let's change the color of the headline to red. Okay? So I'm just going to copy all of the code because I'm lazy, but I don't need to copy all the code. It's a cascading style sheet, right? So if I only want to change one parameter, I can just change the one parameter, and I will do this. I'll clean this up. So all I'm saying now is, look, when you're on a screen and that screen is 480 pixels wide,
I have
Set-
one comment.
set the word. Okay, hang on. Set the color to red. Hit me.
I think if you use device width, you're doing the device as opposed to the viewport.
Correct, right. And so we'll talk about viewport here in a second. And there's other ways to kind of tweak how this thing behaves. I'm not sure. Is there a viewport? Let's go to let's add
Want to try
media.
adding W3 schools to your search?
Right. Well, here it is. Actually, when I said the right thing, it almost always comes up first. So here's an example. So I've got min width. Just a minute ago, I had max width, right? What are some other parameters? Browser support, syntax. Okay. Different style sheets. Oh, this is really cool. So this is another way of doing it. We'll look at that in a second. What? Here are all the media types. Remember we were talking about Siri and Alexa. Oral, but although it's deprecated, which means it's no longer used for speech and sounds and synthesizers. Embossed, braille, so all these are deprecated except print, screen, screen, speech. There it is. So it does work. I mean, it's real. And so it's really, there's just the three: print, screen, and width. I can't think. Print, screen, and speech. God, I did all of that discussion of Alexa leading up to this, and I didn't even know it would lead to this media query showing speech. And then once I get into values, let's talk about values here. I got to zoom out a little bit so I can see. So T had mentioned viewport. And so I've got aspect ratio, color, number of bits per color component, outline, color index, number of colors the device can display. Cool. Device aspect ratio, device height, device width, grid, whether the device is a grid or a bitmap. Okay. Height is the viewport height. Interesting. I'm willing to bet that if I scroll down, there'll be a width. Max aspect ratio, max color index, blah, 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 max device width, max height, monochrome, resolution, width. Okay, max width, and then if I go all the way down here, let's find that width just to make myself feel better. Viewport width. Okay, what's the difference between what's the difference between width and device width? I'm going to show you. As soon as I tie my shoes for the people in the video. I'm going to start with width. So instead of saying max device width, I'm just going to say max width. And I'm going to save this, and I'm going to push to the server, Shift Command U. We're going to say dependent files, yes, okay. Here it is. We hit refresh. Nothing has happened. Okay, so I shrink this down. I don't know how wide this is, but it sure as heck isn't 480 pixels, right? 480 pixels is like right here. So as I take this and I make it smaller, eventually I'll get down to 480 pixels, he said. Maybe not.
It might not have uploaded your stuff.
Maybe. The only other thing is it max or min?
I did max with 500 and mine changes colors.
Okay, so I'm going to make this bigger just to get myself 600. Push it to the server. Say yes. Oh, did I refresh? Okay, look, I broke it. Okay, so I broke it. This is really turning out to be a great demo. Okay, let me just. Oh, I didn't save this though and send it. Okay, Shift Command U. I didn't save the. Now it'll work. What? So this is where it splits up, where we talk about device width versus width. This is the width. So this is viewport width. Viewport width is our document, is what we see. Like I said, you have this browser, you have this little window that you're looking through. Don't be a creeper. Look in your window. And then this is the device. The whole screen is the device. You know, this is, I don't know. Let's talk pros and cons for a second, T.
Sure.
So obviously, I was able to force this thing down to when I got to 600 pixels. It changed. But if I did this with device width, I would never see that mobile site. Is that a good thing or not? I don't know. You know, I think you can also sniff out device height. They say not to. I mean, this is really like the old school way. Like 5 years ago, it was like sniff the device, meaning use code to figure out what kind of device they're on, what kind of browser they're using, and then supply code based on that.
Well, see, if you use device width, I'm not sure how it'll work if you flip your.
Well, right, and so
but they do have an orientation.
they do, yeah. So let's. So hold on. Let me try it and let's just test it here. I'm wondering if this is recording on the video. That's all you hear. So it's like 20 minutes of me moving my mouse around and Witchy Woman playing in the background. IT. I'm going to do this once and never type it again. This is course materials. Yeah, course materials. Okay, here we go. Awesome. Guess what? Can you see it? So this, how many websites did you get like that on your phone, right?
Yeah.
What's my headline? I'm going all the way around. What color is my headline? Green. Okay, wait. I'm gonna make Lynn say what color it is now. Okay, I rotated it and it's still green. And I know for a fact the resolution on this phone is way higher than 600 pixels. So I don't know. We'll have to play around with orientation and see what we get there. So here, sorry. There it is. Green. 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 You know it's green. Okay, you guys have to take my word for it. It's green. Okay. So the question is why? And what happens if I say, Max, go back to device width? Okay, and I just refreshed, and it went red. Okay. So device width, I think, is a hard number, maybe? I don't know.
So it checks the device itself, not the viewports.
Right. So your device reports back what size is in the window is.
Oh, most mobile devices, yeah. I mean, I haven't been that concerned, but do you really resize windows on a mobile device?
You can't, but when you do this, right?
Yeah, but how? Well, you know what I mean, like as in dragging the corner, that kind.
No, you don't. Right. Of course. Right.
So,
Although,
This is just to show what it would do.
right. So this is interesting that
how's that?
device width device width works. Max width is not working. So I'm going to go back.
So it seems to make more sense just to use device width.
No, because the device width isn't it? Your device could be 600 and your view could only be 4. On the mobile, the viewport you see isn't actually the same as the device's width.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The viewport on the phone, like your
Right.
device may be this wide, but
Right.
the viewport is only this wide, so it's going off of your device width,
Right.
not your actual viewport width.
Right. So,
Should we experiment?
yeah, I mean, this is something for you guys to play around with, and actually, you can go. This is so lame. You can go out and see. This is good weekend fun. Go out and find a list of all of the devices out there: iPhones, tablets, Samsung Galaxies, and it will tell you the screen resolutions of all those things. So this is where it starts to get weird, is because resolution and pixel count and device widths are growing. iPhone 6 Retina display, it's a really high resolution screen. So what does it mean, right? What does it mean when you start talking about device width when your phone has a higher resolution than your computer does,
It's
right?
start getting a lot hotter in your hands.
Well, there's that, yeah, and your battery dies, and Apple sells you more iCloud space for fun.
Gets even hotter. Wow, look at these graphics on such a small screen. And now it's burning a hole through my hands.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to send this back up. So what, big deal, right? It changes when it gets smaller. So one of the other things that T showed me that was really interesting is you can use, what, help me out, T. What's the viewport?
View width is VW.
VW, yeah, VW and VH. So instead of pixels, I can say VW and VH, and it's going to do like and you're going to correct me on this, a percentage of the width of your screen. So your text is going to fill. So like, for example, let's go look at this. Look at this. So what is this right here? div.body. Let's see here. Div class body, right? Okay, so that was really a bad choice of code. Let's say, for example, that I want this to go dot body. Let's copy this down into our media code. And I'm going to say, this time I'm going to say 12 VW. And same thing. Oops. Okay, justify inner word, 1 pic solid green, padding 10 pics. And again, I want this to be like 2 VW. Bam. Okay, so look at my line spacing went crazy, but my text size stayed the same. So let's change this to 20 and change this to, let's leave it the same. And the same thing with the margin. I want to change this to 5 VW. Okay, so the font's still not. But check it out. Is my line, as I change this width, my line spacing actually is changing too, and so you can see the line space get bigger because it's a percentage of the width of the screen, right? So 18. So why isn't my my font size? Oh, that's because I didn't do font size. So now I'm going to say 12 VW. You guys are all, I'm completely lost, but you know what? I'm going to listen to this video later and there. And actually, I'm going to change this so I can see it scale a little bit. So I'm going to change this to 800. But so check it out. You can see the font is actually changing in size. And so that counts, right? Because you want this to be I want to know why my device width is not working. Go ahead.
Just like it's kind of got me to thinking on how that's something I've noticed with Wikias that I often look at my computer and on my phone is visually they're different. Like when I look at it on my computer, I can actually see the background, but it's absent in the when I looked it up on my phone. So I thought I'd try to see if this is a case of that and. When we hold style sheets.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do
Or
completely
51.
different. And so this is okay. This is the whole reason. I know you guys. I'm losing you guys. Remember when I said keep the text, the HTML separate from the CSS? So now you can make this page, the style, readable on a phone. So it's really huge, but this is a lot more readable than we had a few minutes ago, right? So you don't have to walk around. I can just look at it and say, oh, cool. I got a mobile website. I know I cheeseballed it and play around with sizing, but
there is one thing about the that I noticed on the HTML before I found the app media that I'm curious while I was looking for app media.
Uh-huh.
just underneath the head, it states meta name, viewport, content width,
Right.
to device width, initial scale,
Right.
1.0.
So there's a meta tag that goes along with this, and it allows you to scale the viewport, and it also I'm sure you guys. How many of you? I should see everyone raise their hands. How many of you have done that?
Done. You mean
How many of you have done it on a website and it doesn't work? You can lock it, right?
zoom in?
That's how you lock it, and you can also set the initial scale, and you can tell them you can only scale it so much. So you're controlling the experience. Hopefully you'll do a good enough job as a designer for the page of the 50 grand for this website that you don't need to scale it. It's going to fit perfectly, and it's going to look good on every device.
And then scaling to 1.0 is that like
Right, and so scale is actually it's the initial scale. It's the initial scale of the site. So you can actually scale up sites as well. And if you were just doing a normal, if I weren't doing any other code of the @media tag, I could say, look, set the initial scale to 200%, right, to 2.0, and it's going to scale that website up on your browser.
so in this case it's saying it's the base scale. So
Right, and it actually kind of effectively, remember you were talking about you don't actually drag your corner of your browser in a mobile phone? This is kind of a way of doing that, is when I scale it like this, kind of doing that. I'm actually saying, okay, well, if I zoom in, now the width of my browser is this wide, right? And so I can automatically kind of just like shove that in there. So let's make that, I just want to make that image, what was that image?
Lorem.
Thanks. So I want to make that go, but keep it, see what I'm doing here? It's all inside the @media tag. So I'm just saying, look, when you get down to here, if you're on mobile, override the styles from above. Okay, so lorem image, I'm gonna say width is 100 VW. And actually I can just say 100% in this case. So it'll just go to fill the container. So, bam. Now it's really starting to look like a website, a mobile website. Although the poor people watching the video just saw the code, didn't see anything. Trust me, it works. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.